They've gone rogue, they're rewriting the terms of Megxit.
They basically privatised the royal process.
This is the hybrid role that Harry sincerely believed was on offer.
They went and slated the entire royal family, calling it racist, or racism exists within the palace. And now they want to come back in.
Do you think it's harder for women to marry into the royal family?
Well, the template is Catherine.
She was probably just about as common as you could get to marry into the royal family.
Welcome to Royal Exclusive, where royal diplomacy and family drama collide on both sides of the Atlantic. A week on from King Charles's historic US state visit, we're still unpacking the surprising Trump-King bromance. But is it genuine friendship or simply royal soft power in action? Meanwhile, Harry and Meghan continue forging their own global path away from the palace as tensions over titles, tours and half-in, half-out refuse to fade. Plus, a royal baby on the way, Kate's overseas comeback, and exclusive news on a new royal book. I'm Matt Wilkinson, royal editor of The Sun, and joining me to unpack it all are 5 News royal correspondent Simon Viger and news commentator Samara Gill. Welcome to you both. Look, we're still unpacking the King's, highly successful state visit to the United States. And Simon, when we were finishing the trip to the US, the palace issued a briefing to us. It was quite bullish. It was quite confident. They think it went very well. I think the coverage was, all the media and the people in America felt it went very well. Was this trip the time where truly King Charles actually stepped out of the shadow from his late mother, Queen Elizabeth II?
I think it was one of the most significant state visits of recent years. I would go back to 2011 and the Queen visiting the Republic of Ireland, which was a historic moment as well. So, yeah, not historic in terms of going to the USA, but objectively, I think his speeches were very, very good. I mean, he made some serious points of difference with Trump on climate change and NATO and whatever, but great jokes as well. Trump took it all in good heart, and I think the King's about the only person he would take that from. So, yeah, I do think it went really well.
Because we saw there was a bit of a bromance going on. I think Trump genuinely does like Charles.
Oh, yeah.
I think he likes the power and I think he likes the authority.
He wants to be a king.
He wants to be a king.
Wants to be a king.
But afterwards, the palace did say to us, look, we asked Samara, we said, was this bromance true? Did they actually get on? They said they get on very well. And it's not just the king and the president, it's all 4 of them. So Queen Camilla and First Lady Melania. There was a lot of, it's a pairing, unlikely though it might be in many ways. The warmth that you see in public is absolutely the warmth that you see in private. There was an awful lot of warmth and laughter. Do you think that the friendship was genuine, as the palace are telling us?
I think it was genuine, absolutely. I think there is a mutual respect that Trump doesn't have for a lot of other people around him, but he does have respect for the King. And I think the King respects his diplomatic role in not kowtowing to the president, but making sure that relationship is really strong. So, yes, it's an unlikely friendship, but also it is very likely. Look at the backgrounds of Trump and look at the backgrounds of the King. They both had quite privileged upbringings. They both were meant to take over the family business, the family firm. And I think they've actually got way more in common than we give them credit for. And that totally shone throughout the trip. And for the King, I mean, he really stepped out of his mother's shadow. And I think he's now forging his own legacy after this visit.
It is interesting because Trump doesn't like many people. Let's be honest, he often has rows in the Oval Office, but he had nothing but good to say about King Charles. Ages ago, many years ago, Princess Diana, Samara, famously said that she didn't think that Charles would make, I might be misquoting her here, corrupting her quote, but she did hint that she felt that King Charles would not be a very good king. Was she wrong?
Well, that was really the thrust of the Panorama interview. That was her big, I mean, apart from everything else we remember, that was the big bombshell in that interview. So, yeah, on that, of course, there was a lot going on in the 1990s, but on that particular point, I think Diana was wrong. But yeah, she clearly implied she wanted, William to inherit straight from Elizabeth.
Yeah, I think we've got to give it also to Camilla, who and some of the audience, I'm sure, might not like this, but I think he is very comfortable with Camilla and he feels a lot more stronger and he's more comfortable in himself. So I think it's very much the duo that was the power couple that kind of stormed this trip. It wasn't just the King showing this display of how diplomacy should work. I think it was both of them. So maybe during that time when they were going through a tumultuous phase, him and Diana, maybe he was showing the worst of his character, and maybe Camilla brings out the best.
Yeah, I think he's grown into the role. Let's be honest, Charles. Well, he's done very well. So, as I say, Simon, the palace were very bullish. There's a description I would use about the success of the trip. Samara, Harry and Meghan have been quite bullish in the last couple of weeks. I want to get your take on this. There was a People magazine article that kind of got lost in all the state visit news last week, but they're suggesting that they are kind of really carving out a new role. That Australia is obviously now a blueprint for the future, and I'm wondering whether you think like Harry and Meghan have possibly, there's been accusations that that they are kind of overstretching themselves, that they've gone rogue, they're rewriting the terms of Megxit. What direction do you think Harry and Meghan are heading in at the moment?
Well, let's set the record straight here with what's actually happened in terms of the fact that they spent the last 5 years writing books, sort of going through the tumultuous, horrible childhood of Prince Harry and how the family, totally ruined him, and how, Camilla turned his old childhood bedroom into a wardrobe and how traumatic that is, and the punch up between him and William, and or sort of the physical fight, let's just say. That's one of the best-selling books ever. You've got the Oprah interview where they went and slated the entire royal family, calling it racist, or racism exists within the palace, going and trashing all that. And now they want to come back in. Now they want to have this one foot in, one foot out royal deal, which the Queen absolutely decried and did not want to happen for good reason. I mean, yes, the Australia trip went well on paper because they're very popular in Australia and it was well done, but there were some mistakes that were made, be it small. Meghan showing up to a site where a terrorist attack happened and then putting her outfit for sale on a site, basically profiting off people's trauma, in my opinion. There were many, many faux pas that happened, but this wouldn't be the end of it all. I think if they continue to do this, they will actually destroy the legacy of the royal family by cheapening it. They're basically selling off what they can. I just think it's egregious.
The clothing thing I'm uncomfortable with. The idea that she goes to a hospital and hugs a sick child, and then there's actually a button that you can press to buy her outfits, and then Meghan makes money off it. I'm a little bit. I can't quite get my head around that. It does seem a little bit distasteful. But it feels like there has been some little steps over the last couple of years where they have got closer to becoming a half in, half out royals. Have the royal family taken the eye off the ball? They've been busy with the state visit.
Well, there's nothing the royal family can do about it because they are not part of the senior working team of the royal family. This is the hybrid role that Harry sincerely believed was on offer to him before the Sandringham summit, where he says it was taken off the table. And they said service is universal. That this is the hybrid role that they wanted with their business interests and their money making in California, but then going on the odd tour. He was here in September, of course. Did a week of engagements in September, which was really
And it felt like a royal visit, Simon.
It was look at what you're missing, because he's really, really good at it. And he still doesn't believe that there should be one or the other. There can be a hybrid role, and that's what he's doing.
Should the royal family? Sorry, Samara.
No, I just think that a hybrid role means making more money. Yes, he's good at it, but we know that Meghan and Harry want to make money from this ordeal. That's what it's about.
I think
all their business
they're
ventures.
unapologetic about it. This is what we're hearing. This is the way they're moving forward. They're saying that this is what they are saying. They are saying we will make money from our foreign tours. And my point is, should the royal family step in and say, you shouldn't be doing this, this is wrong?
It's a good point. I mean, I think they're out of control. They're out of the control of the royal family. What can the king do? I mean, genuinely, I think obviously when William gets into power, he will be much stronger on making sure that they do not do this to the legacy. But unfortunately, I don't think the king has the chutzpah to be able to put the foot down here.
I don't think Charles nor William can stop them doing it. I mean, you're right. They're not out of control, but they are out of the control of Charles and William. They're doing what they want to do, and nobody can tell them otherwise.
The problem here is that these royal tours, as we've seen with what happened in Washington with Trump and the King, that was a highly confected, but in a good way, tour where every single minute was planned to a T. Unfortunately, since they've basically privatized the royal process, that is going to be planned by someone else, be it a PR team that actually won't be thinking about the diplomatic nature of these trips, won't be thinking 15 steps ahead, like all these great royal aides and people who work within the palace. And that is a recipe for disaster, in my opinion. I think, yes, Australia went well, but if they're planning to do this on an ongoing basis, there is going to be something very bad that will happen, some horrible thing that Meghan will do where they didn't think about what the implications would be. Harry might go somewhere that's unsafe. It is a real problem for the royal family to think about. But you're right. I don't know that they'll be able to grasp control of the situation.
Well, the King's had a lot on his plate. I still give him so much credit for what he's done. He was still working hard when he's been treated for cancer, and we had good news in December that things are heading in the right direction. Around about the same time, he was sorting out Andrew, kicking Andrew out, getting rid of his titles. Is he leaving the Harry and Meghan situation alone and maybe leaving it for William?
Well, maybe. I mean, I don't think there's much that... we don't know how much contact there is between Charles and Harry anyway. We're pretty sure there's nothing between Harry and William. Yeah, Charles has got enough on his plate. He loves Harry. He wants there to be reconciliation there. But I don't think he's in a position, or he wants to tell Harry what to do. In terms of the foreign tours, I don't know how many they're going to do. Maybe one a year, maybe two a year.
No, I think it's going to be more.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that genuinely, we had Bronte on the other week who spent a bit of time down in Australia, and she was giving quite a lot away. She was like hinting that this is the direction that they are going. I just wonder whether the palace have been concentrating so much on this state visit, so much on Andrew, that they've taken the eye off the ball onto Sito.
I think it's easy for me to say, it's all about the money, it's all about the money. Of course, I mean, they have to recoup their brand. Their brand has not been great the past 5 years. They need to use the royal family to leverage themselves off that and make sure that they can sell their products and sustain their lifestyle and their massive security bill and their mortgage and all that stuff. The issue is that all their decisions are going to be driven by profit. And that is a really, really bad thing in the long term, because they won't be thinking like the royal family does about actually the legacy and building on that. It will be about, how can I make my next 100,000? Oh, would you like to go talk at this conference? There are some really dubious people funding it, but oh yeah, the money, I'm going to go for that first. And I think that's where the issue lies here.
We're going to be talking about other members of the royal family money later in the show, isn't it?
Well, I do wonder whether Meghan still has a sort of political instinct of eventually, running for office in California, maybe. I mean, I wouldn't rule that out. I think
she's too thin-skinned because anyone criticises. Imagine when you get criticised when you're a politician.
You never know.
I just want to say, last time a royal went after the money and didn't think about the consequences, it didn't end very well, let's just say.
I think you're talking about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor.
Yes, potentially.
Yeah, and maybe Sarah Ferguson. There was an article, I think I saw on a Substack this week, there's an article from someone who used to work at People magazine saying that the Sussexes are running low on money. Or that he'd spent most of Diana's inheritance. But Meghan is making money, if we're led to believe. They are, they do have businesses. So we're going to have to, if they run out of money, that's the problem, because they come back to the King, or they have to sell stories about the royal family again.
Yeah, it's a lot of jam to shift in order to pay for their we say they have businesses and everything, but it's reported that yes, Meghan made probably about 6 figures from that that Coogee Beach getaway in Sydney. In Bondi, and I don't think that's enough. They've got huge amounts of expenses to maintain their lifestyle. They've got billionaire friends to keep up with, and I think a lifestyle brand that Netflix has cut off is not going to be anything to sustain that. And I don't think Harry's making that. He's going to property conferences in Canada in order to get a couple of $1,000. So I think it is looking rough.
Remember, they were called effing grifters just a couple of years ago by people who had seen them operate their businesses. So it'd be interesting to see if they come over in the summer.
Netflix have still got first refusal, I think, on deals. Next year's the 30th anniversary of the death of Diana, so there are rumours of a Diana documentary for Netflix. We shall see.
Let's see how it works out. Simon, I'm glad we've got you on because we can reveal. You disappeared for about a month. I didn't know where you were for about a month earlier this year.
I was typing.
What were you doing?
I was typing. I was finishing my first royal book, which is coming out in late July. So yeah, I'm delighted to announce that. It's called The Four Wives of Windsor, and it focuses on Diana, Camilla, Catherine, and Meghan. So it looks at their backstories. It compares and contrasts what went right, what went wrong. So it's the first time that's been done.
Well, I've let a secret. I have actually read it.
Yeah.
I found it compelling. I thought it was fascinating. The actual stories of how it's the outsiders, isn't it? It's the outsiders and how they come into the royal family and change the royal family.
So this was an idea I was kicking around for a few years, having been on the royal beat for almost 20 years. Was looking at the outsiders who come into the family, and of course there are lots. It's not just those four, but we had to narrow it down basically. But Prince Philip would be a great case study of an outsider who came in and faced a lot of opposition and definitely changed the monarchy over 70 years. But narrowing it down to those four, they're all outsiders. Some were rushed in, some were given time. Some, Camilla had decades before she actually was in the fold. But they've all been able to see it from the outside. They've all then gone on the inside, and they've changed it in different ways, sometimes on purpose, most often not on purpose. And of course, Meghan and Harry have the hybrid role possibly will be a blueprint for Charlotte and Louis and Archie and Lilibet. And we don't know. But what those children are going to do, will they be allowed to have business interests in years to come?
So Diana, Camilla, Catherine and Meghan. Obviously, Meghan's the newest, only 6-7 years. Diana, obviously, back to the 80s to the 90s. Yeah. Who created the most changes, do you think, within the royal family? Who had the biggest impact?
I think long term it'll be Catherine, because she's married to a future king. She's mother of the king after that, and how they've raised are raising their children will have an impact for decades to come. But of course, it's very difficult to ignore Diana, who is such an iconic figure for those who were around when Diana was alive. The tragedy of the marriage, in a way, she was only 19 when she got engaged. She was still calling Charles Sir right up until the wedding. Really, when you look back on it now, and even at the time, quite odd. But Diana had a big role in choosing the schooling for William and Harry, bringing up William and Harry, taking them out to normal stuff, more than any royal children have ever done. And that's the thing William and Harry crave for their children, is normality. And everything William and Harry have done is reflects on their mother, protecting their wives from what happened to their mother. It's all bundled up.
They all had their challenges marrying into the royal family, but are there four women, Diana, Camilla, Catherine and Meghan, who do you think found it the most difficult, who had the most problems?
Well, you'd say Diana and Meghan. Meghan, Lady Diana Spencer was an aristocrat, so she knew, she literally lived on the Sandringham estate. She grew up, she was much closer in age to Andrew and Edward, but she knew them. So she knew what the deal was, even though she was 19. Meghan, of course, was much older when she became a royal, and was really fast-tracked into the royal family. Harry thought that was the only way of doing it, because he was he saw previous relationships end because of the scrutiny. So he wanted to protect Meghan. The only way of protecting Meghan was to get her in as soon as possible. That led to friction, family members saying this is going too quickly. That's where all the friction began.
Who was the best at it? Who do you think?
Well, the template is Catherine. In an ideal world, you would have 7 or 8 years to work out how you're going to do it, if you want to do it, and be given every opportunity to back out, which she had. But when she decided to go for it, they went for it. They had, and what Harry didn't have, William and Catherine had at university, where the media, the British media, doesn't get a lot of credit for this. They left William and Catherine alone. They had a normal romance at university, which Harry's never had a normal romance because of, he never had that sort of protection of university.
Samara, as the sole representation of the female race on this show,
Yes.
Do you think it's harder for women to marry into the royal family and find a role and to change it than are they treated differently to, for instance, for a man? We mentioned about Prince Philip possibly, coming in and changing the royal family. Is it more challenging for women to move in? We're talking about Diana. I mean, Catherine, the challenges she had recently. Meghan, obviously very well documented, and Camilla was despised for a long period of time.
Well, that's why I love the concept of the book, actually, because I think it is the women that have been very much dragged through the media, sometimes for good reasons, sometimes for bad. I think they are the ones who are always open to scrutiny. Of course, you just can't get away from it because Philip, yes, he had a lot of issues, but I think that him being a man, it was different for him, but different in different ways, not to mix words, but you know what I mean. So I think, I don't know, I mean, it's so interesting to hear about Catherine because in a way it wasn't as clean cut, was it? As we want to believe, she had to be quite stoic. She was still put through the ringer, and she was probably just about as common as you could get to marry into the royal family up to that point.
Yeah, I mean, the idea that Meghan is the first person to face negative media is nonsense. Catherine, the whole Waity Katie stuff, the Wisteria sisters, the social climbers, the snobby remarks about her mum.
And Diana.
And
Camilla.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
There's something about women marrying into the royal family where, there's so much opposition. And it's not, I don't think it's not just the media. I think maybe within the institution itself, women marrying in and marrying these princes attracts a lot of controversy that maybe doesn't happen towards the men.
Yeah, no, that's just a completely fair point. It's difficult. I mean, it's really hard marrying into that family. Meghan obviously knew about camera crews and photographers and publicity and stuff, but nothing can prepare you for the intensity of what happens once you are in the royal family. She's said as much. Diana, shy die at the beginning, hiding behind her fringe, and then she becomes, I was very lucky as a young reporter in London to cover some of Diana's last engagements, and the star quality was obvious. I know we project that onto people a little bit, but Diana was a genuine star. And one of the people I spoke to, speaking about her loneliness towards the end at Kensington Palace, he said she would go out there in the day, she would, hundreds of people, all this adulation, and then she'd go back and be on her own at Kensington Palace, playing loud music late into the night, and he would walk away, the staffer would walk away and think, how do you do it? How do you do it?
Well, she rewrote the rules in many ways. I don't think Camilla followed Diana's rules, but maybe Catherine and Meghan have, or am I making that up?
In terms of what?
In her role, you point out there she changed a lot. You found that she changed a lot. Had a say in where the children went to school.
Oh yeah.
Took the children to like Thorpe Park and places like that, and maybe to a McDonald's. I don't think Camilla followed in her footsteps, but do you see Catherine and Meghan copying what Diana did?
Oh yeah. So the upbringing of the current royal children is very similar to the Middleton upbringing. It's and what they have and what Harry and William didn't have was much more privacy, and William and Catherine have played an absolute blinder on that one. They released photos for birthdays. You see them at trooping, you see them at the carol service, but actually you don't see the children that much. That's very different to what William and Harry had, and that's absolutely deliberate. But yes, the upbringing, the schools they're going to, the friends they have is, I'll put it in quotation marks, but it's the most normal ever.
Yeah, and I think that's to do with, I guess, the evolving role of women within the royal family. If you think about, even if you take a 100-year span, it was such a different role to what now Catherine is doing within that family. But it's evolved quite nicely through her, I think. I think the Diana years were where you have that sort of chasm between old and new. And I think she was trying to really grow out of what that role was supposed to be. She was meant to be almost like a lady-in-waiting queen princess, where she could just sit there and be in the palace all day. And she didn't want to do that. She wanted to go out. She wanted to wear her athletic gear. She wanted to, drive her own car. And I think there was quite a backlash towards that within the firm. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Absolutely, yeah, there was. Catherine is, they're all interesting. Catherine is no wallflower, as somebody said to me. She's very, very strategic. She's very smart. Potentially the smartest of the lot of them. I don't think that's controversial to say that. But, thinking 10 years ahead, 20 years ahead, and so on. Once she decided she was going to go be part of it, she's sort of all in, And the Queen loved Catherine and the Middletons. The Middletons were absolutely key to the whole thing, of course.
Because she's the least controversial. She's probably the one that we know least about. She's possibly the least open. Did you find that?
Yeah, that's exactly how they want it. Absolutely. Yeah,
Why is that?
They don't want exciting. They've tried exciting, and they'd rather not have that. Think of the phrase, the words that the late Queen loved: stoic, steadfast, dependable. That's what they want. So the Queen loved the Middletons. Obviously, who raised their daughter, and she really, really rated Catherine and got to know her. Obviously, got to know her very well.
Sorry.
Oh, I've got so many questions, but I was just going to ask, why was it so hard for Meghan then?
Because she was rushed. She was rushed in. It was. They were engaged in late 2017. And so, married in May 2018. Less than 2 years later, they'd gone. Everything went into warp drive.
It might be clearly because of their ages. They were late 30s and they were desperate to have children and kind of carve out a kind of life themselves. I just wonder if it was happening in their 20s, like Catherine and William, they could have taken their time.
Yeah. And Meghan was, in her late 30s. There was no learning for Meghan. She knew what she wanted. She knew what she believed. She wasn't going to be. She didn't need coaching. One of the most. I didn't realise this till I wrote the book, but Meghan, when she got married to Harry, was actually older than Diana was when she died.
Wow.
Which is, so imagine everything that Diana had already packed into her life up until 1997. Well, Meghan had packed a lot in until that moment in 2018. It's a completely different world view, and experience.
Who was your favourite to write about, to research?
Diana's my favourite, but that's a sort of generational thing, and a star. You can tell the sort of star quality thing.
Would Princess Diana be as successful and iconic if she was to, transfer it to now? So if she married into the royal family now?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, we know the whole story, and with hindsight, you can see, the fairy tale wedding in 1981, and then the terrible, terrible end in 1997. There's something heroic about Diana, how she dealt with the cards she was dealt, the problems in her family and then the problems in the family she married into. Was ever given a chance? She felt very early on that it was, she tried, but she felt it was hopeless. Charles tried, but in the end, he felt it was hopeless.
You mentioned about Meghan and Harry being quite rushed, not having much time. Camilla, on the other hand, she did play the long game. Let's admit, let's play that. Let's admit that
she did.
She got what she wanted in the end. Comparing the two, Meghan Samara didn't really have the patience. Then maybe.
Meghan didn't have the patience. I think nationality should also be brought into it. She was American, Catherine obviously grew up with the royal family. She kind of has that more British perspective on what it is and what it's about. I think Meghan still did have a bit of a Disneyland profile of what the royal family is, and I think that informed a lot of her choices. We even know that from the wedding, where there are allegations of her treating very senior palace staff like personal assistants, and you can just see from the start that there was a real issue culturally that couldn't be fixed quickly, I think.
Yeah, it was a culture shock. I mean, it was all. I think the nationality thing's really interesting. Actually, it's much more important than ethnicity or stuff that people talk about.
No, yeah.
It's a culture shock, and she was used to Hollywood, and we know. I mean, despite appearances of the palaces are not Hollywood. I mean, they and certainly the living quarters aren't, and where they were in Nottingham Cottage really wasn't. So it was not as glamorous as the Disneyland, the Disney fairy tale would let you believe.
Well, before we move on, Samara, would you marry into the royal family if there was a prince your age or that took your fancy? Would it be a job that you would be willing to take on?
Great question. Of course I would. No, yeah, I would, absolutely. But I mean, the issue is in this line of work, you do see that it's actually not as glamorous as it gives out to be. And it's very hard work, and it turns into your whole life and your whole existence. And I think with my attitude towards things as a female who likes working, who likes to have my own life, I don't like being told what to do. I think that would be really, really difficult. But I do have one more question. I think, who would you see George marrying in the future? I mean, that'll be the new generation. Are there any predictions? Will he meet someone at his school, or will it be a Hollywood star, or what will happen there? Can you see anything?
I'm going to say not a Hollywood star.
Don't go down that road again.
I think he's only 13.
I know.
But yeah, I think university will be the time. And I think the great British media, which doesn't get enough credit for this, left William and Catherine alone, will, I think, leave George alone when he goes to university. We shall see.
Oh, give me another book, Simon.
He's only 13.
Yeah.
So just a reminder, what's your book called and when's it coming out?
It's called The Four Wives of Windsor, and it's coming out late July.
Awesome, good work. And just a quick one, why was Sarah Ferguson or Sophie or any of the other women that married him, why did they not make your cut of the four wives?
Well, we did. We definitely spoke about it, but we just narrowed it down to the four to make it more manageable. And yeah, arguably, I mean, obviously they are consequential characters, and Sophie's really important as well. And we shall see how Sarah Ferguson changes the monarchy over the course of the next few years. But
Sarah Ferguson didn't make the cut for legal reasons.
More of a double act with the Duke of York.
All right, fascinating. All right, well, I have read it, as I say. I've really enjoyed it, so good luck. And yeah, come back on and we'll talk about it, and we'll talk about your next book. Let's talk about Catherine. So finally, after 4 years, Samara, I'm going to Italy. Her first solo working official trip abroad since she went to Copenhagen on her own in February 2022. Why has it taken so long?
Well, it's really exciting, isn't it, that we're seeing her step back on her own. I think, why has it taken so long? Well, you know, she's been having a very, very hard 4 years. And strangely, I feel like the whole royal family has been having a very hard 4 years alongside her. So I think that hopefully her coming back into Italy, her doing more royal trips, is going to be a very good thing, because it's almost putting behind what has happened and stepping into the future a little bit more. And I think they've really suffered without her in the front line and doing all the duties. I think that we've realised how much of that she was holding on her back for so many years, actually.
Well, we spoke earlier in the show about Harry and Meghan's trip and their plans to be unapologetic and keep on doing more and more of these kind of styles. I mean, is it a case of the royal family after the state visit and now with Catherine, they need to roll out the big guns to show everyone what they're really about?
100%. Yeah, this is absolutely what that is. They know that Kate is their super weapon, and she's a massive superpower in terms of how she can command the media, how she can turn the headlines positive, and they need that at the moment, especially, as you said, after the success of the pseudo-royal tour over in Australia, and then off the back of the very successful King's visit to America.
Why Italy, Simon? Because there's often talk that William and Catherine should do more realms or do more Commonwealth countries.
Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it? But this is very much, it's a quick visit. It's very much focused on her early childhood projects, which is of massive importance to her and generally. And there's a specific project that she wants to go and see in Italy.
It's probably a working visit, really, isn't it? It's to do with the Royal Foundation for early years.
Yeah.
She saw to go in Reggio Emilia, and they have a specific kind of philosophy or project that's been going on for about 75 years about working with fives. So it's a real kind of personal pet project for her. It's always real work.
This is the big thing for her. It's an Earthshot for William, and this is really her pet project. And I mean, I'm told that she is a genuine expert in this field now, not an academic, but I mean, she has. There's so much going on behind the scenes, where the cameras aren't at. This is one of those appearances where the cameras will be there, but it's obviously early years when kids are up to the age of 3 or 4, how they begin life is so important in almost every respect, and that's what she wants to make a difference with here. The problem, of course, is eventually you have to start talking about money. That then becomes political, which the royals can't get involved in. So it's interesting to see how she navigates this.
Are we able to compare this with recent appearances from Meghan, Duchess of Sussex? We've had, red carpets, we've had awards, we've had all sorts of stuff in the US. She's been to New York for certain stuff. I mean, how do we compare this working visit from Catherine to Meghan? Is it going to be comparable?
Well, I don't know. Is Catherine going to go to an early learning centre and then try and flog her outfits online? I don't think so. So, I mean, I think that, look, without being cynical, there is a brand that is very similar that they are kind of imitating, Meghan is. And I think that we know, though, that this isn't a craven pursuit for Catherine. She lived in Florence while she was taking her gap year. She has a connection to Italy. It's also not a very long flight away. She's not going to get exhausted by it because we know that obviously she's, her health is tantamount to the future. So I think that, or the success of the future. So yeah, I don't see this as the glamour and glitz of what Meghan is trying to do. I see this as actual, service, which is what it's actually all about. And I think Catherine will show that.
Yeah, I've seen the programme, and there may be a couple of little bits of glamour and glitz, but not red carpets and opening of turning up at movie shows and stuff like that. So
they're both very hands-on parents, so I think these quick trips are the way forward.
2 days.
I covered a 3-week trip to Australia and New Zealand. I don't think we're going to be seeing one of those, maybe ever again. But these quick trips make sense for them.
Talking of motherhood, we have a baby news. Princess Eugenie is pregnant. I'm interested in the fact that the Buckingham Palace announced it. She's not a working royal. We've got all the terrible news, bad news about her father, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Then they snuck out this news that Eugenie is pregnant. Yeah,
but if they hadn't, that would have been a story as well, because, why is, she's HRH, she's a princess, why is Buckingham Palace not handling this news? So they made it very clear when father was stripped of all of his titles and honours that the girls weren't affected. They're still HRH, they're still princesses. OK, they're not working members of the family, but I think it would have been more of a story if it had been a press release from a private PR agency.
Well, I mean, is this signalling that they're back in the fold?
I think they're still very popular, actually. I mean, they've got their own sort of fan bases, let's just say, that I think that the family would be going towards. But I also think this is a strategic move to take sort of news off Andrew and Fergie for just a day at least. And yeah, I think this is the future of that sect, and we're not going to focus on the past. And I think that it's quite nice of them to release a statement, to be honest.
I don't think she's got pregnant as a publicity stunt, though.
No.
No, not at all.
But yeah, I think the palace had to announce it.
Looking forward to the future, I mean, how do Eugenie and Jack introduce at some stage, this is your grandpa, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. He's one of the most reviled men in the UK, but he's also the King's brother.
He might not use those words, Matt. But well, I mean, he obviously he's going to see them. He sees his grandchildren, and it'll either be at Norfolk or where he's living now, or where they're living. Yeah, that second part of the conversation will come many years down the line, I think.
Interesting. And let's talk about money. We all need more money, let's be honest. Are the royals too rich? Because there was an article this week saying that Prince William is all about his income tax bill, up to £7 million a year, which feels like a lot of money, but he also earns a lot of money. Is this a politics of envy? Should we be finding out how much members of the royal family earn through tax? I mean, this is through the Duchy of Cornwall. It's quite complicated, but where do you stand on this, Simon?
Well, it is complicated. So the first thing to say is that this money is not taxpayers' money. So the taxpayers' money that funds their official duties, their official residence, is completely separate. Duchy of Cornwall, now he is the Duke of Cornwall, is his private wealth, his private income. And whether you consider that to be public land or private land is a political, you can take a political view. The legal fact at the moment is that's his income from the Duchy of Cornwall.
And do we have a right to know how much he pays in tax? Because they don't tell us officially. This is work that's been done by.
No, they're always very coy, and if they do tell us, they always say we don't have to tell you this, but we are telling you this. So no, they're always, and the Duchy of Lancaster is the other one, which is the King's private income. Should we know? Yeah, I think we probably should. But it is private income.
Will you tell people how much tax you receive?
I just know I get taxed too much, but no, I think the royal family is massively private about this for a reason. They don't want the public to know this crazy lifestyle that some of them live. Some of them don't have a lot of money at all, really. It's just they're very asset-rich, cash-poor. But I think that in a cost of living crisis, with everything that's going on in the world, is it right for them to be taking this much money in? I don't know, that's a question for another day, but it is a bit annoying when you hear, oh, all right, he paid $7 million in tax. What does that put him in? I was reading the 0.02 cent.
0.002% of taxpayers in the UK.
Yeah. But paying tax is good. Is a good thing to do. Yeah. So that does go to public funds, of course. Where they really got into hot water a couple of years ago was when it was revealed that they were charging, commercial rents for NHS ambulance stations and for primary schools on Dartmoor and stuff. And William has changed that, and he has tweaked what happens on rentals on Duchy land, and I'm sure that will continue. We know with his homelessness project, that's going to focus on land he owns in London and the West Country. So he will want to make a difference. But will we? Royal finances, I've been reporting on royal finances for 20 years. The more you know, the less you know. It's very, it's very complicated. But I think it's really important to stress that our money, taxpayers' money, is not funding their private stuff. This is for their private projects,
Yeah, I don't know. Other people's taxes bore me.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
I
It really does. I'm just like, well, why are we asking about a rich person's? Royal family are rich. Shock. Royal family have lots of property. Shock. It kind of winds me up.
The king has paid a lot of tax, or the prince.
Stuff that they actually give back as well. The time and the work and the highlighting. We just had Trump King coming back from a state visit to the United States. The stuff that you can't actually quantify money-wise. Yeah. I just think they're well worth the money.
Yeah. Also, I just think as well they're doing a very good job, at least the Walesers specifically, of not acting like a billionaire family or a multi-millionaire family. You always see Kate in that one stripy top. She never really changes. All the kids, you can see that they're wearing quite accessible outfits, stuff that you could just buy off the rack at Trotters or however. So I think they're doing a good job of presenting this sort of, as you were saying, even in your book, they're living quite a normal lifestyle. At least that's what it looks like to the public. And I think that's really important optically. They're not going on private jets over to holiday. They've been reported to have taken EasyJet, which is a budget airline, to their holidays. And I think that's the way to do it if you don't want public discontent.
But saying that, if they have any spare money and they wanted to give any out, then there's 3 people here that would be happy to take a bit of your extra money. Right, we've just got time for our quickfire questions, please. What should Simon's next royal book be about, Samara?
Oh God, there's so many. I would like a book specifically on Meghan. I know that's
my God.
predictable. Please, can
Not
you just?
another
It's going to be
Meghan
about
book.
that thick.
It's all been written, hasn't it?
Well-
What else is there to say?
Don't know about that.
Yeah, we don't know about
do it.
that. No, I think there's much more to write, Simon.
There's much more that you can't write.
Yeah, exactly.
Simon.
It's a hard no from me on that one.
Damn it.
I'm thinking, well, suggestions are very welcome. I am thinking hard about that. I haven't really come up with an answer yet, I'm afraid.
Just take a break.
I take
Tell
a
this
break,
one.
yeah, okay, fine.
What should we call Harry and Meghan's expected UK tour this summer?
Go on.
The only way is Sussex.
Okay.
I
love that.
I hope they go to Sussex because they've only been to Sussex once.
They spent like 8 hours there or something.
And some of the local MPs are now campaigning for the removal of the title, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be, we're back, did you miss me? And then jazz hands or, you know.
And finally, with so many royals going on tours abroad, who would you most like to go on holiday with?
Oh, goodness. I think Camilla would be a lot of fun.
Nice spa trip.
Yeah, nice spa trip, bit of champagne, you know.
Actually, those Instagram videos that the Waleses have released of Louis and Charlotte, I've noticed there's a lot of beach cricket is played. So I'm going with them if they'll have me.
They looked nice as well, those birthday videos. They were down in Cornwall, weren't they?
Yeah.
I'd like to go, I know Charles likes to go walking around mountains in Romania.
Yeah.
I'd like to do that. I think
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Transylvania.
Transylvania.
Bit of Ceausescu.
Go on a walking holiday with King Charles. You learn so much about flora and fauna and stuff. Might get bored after a day or two. Right, thanks guys, appreciate that. Went through a lot, so thank you.
Thanks.
Right, that's all we have time for on this week's Royal Exclusive. Thanks to my guests Samara and Simon, and thanks to you, as always, for watching. Remember to subscribe to us here on our Royal Exclusive YouTube channel for the latest royal news, and I'll see you next week.